Hey everyone, this is Colorful Options TV with your hostess Makira, and we're here to give you our very first how-to video featuring the She-Devil, Shanna. We're going to be doing her in both pink and in very luscious purple. So let's get started with the how-to. We start with our Cricut. You need to open up your Cricut. And for Shanna, she was a digi file from, it was Whimsy Stamps. Once you download her for Whimsy Stamps, then you're going to upload the JPEG to your file on Cricut. And then you find her, and you're just going to import her over to your canvas. So there she is. She's way too big. She's about 13 inches. So we're going to resize her to a height of only 4 inches. Once we have that, what I like to do is to bring in the size, a square, the size of the card I'm going to make. And for this card, it's 6 inches. And then we're going to put the card in the background with the layers. We'll bring Shanna to the foreground. There she is. And make sure that we have her sized the way we want her to be sized. All right, once that is done, we are going to go searching for the fence that we want to represent the fence in the underworld where she is visiting Hades. I came across this fence in Cricut Design Space about a year ago, and it worked really well for Halloween and rickety fences. So I just type in the word fence, and I'm looking for a cut only file, and that was where Cricut wasn't finding it, so I exited out and went back in, and now we're actually able to find the fence. It should pop up right about now. There it is, right in back of me. So we're going to pull that in. We pull that in, and now we need to resize the fence, so we're just going to move it around a little bit. Get it close to where I want it on that card, unlock it so I can get the right size I want, position it, make sure it's how I like it. Then I duplicate it, and now I'm gonna flip it, and then we're gonna take those two and we're gonna turn them, I believe I choose pink. Yes, pink. And then we're gonna duplicate it, and then we're gonna change that color to purple since we're doing one in pink and one in purple. However, this fence does have an offset to it that we do not want. I personally don't want to cut the offset. You could cut the offset, I'm sure, if that's what you wanted to do, but I want just the fence itself. So there you can see the offset that's there. Now we're going to move my little avatar over to the side so you can see what I'm doing and how I get rid of that offset. It's very easy. All you're going to do is you're going to click on the offset, and then you're just going to hit delete. Super easy. You're going to do that 4 times because there's 4 sets of fences, so there's 4 offsets that you need to delete. Next, we're going to be working on, once I move everything out of my way, giving Shanna the She-Devil offset of her own. This is how we can get that real nice, crisp, die cut appearance to a digital image. So I'm going to clean up my screen here a little bit, and then we're going to get Shanna by herself in just another second. And there she is. So there is an offset button just to the right of the color. So we're going to click on that, and the die cuts are usually about a 0.04 inch offset to a stamped image. So it's 0.04 is what I'm going to change the offset to, and then you just hit apply. It always defaults to black, so I'm going to click on white. Now they are not connected yet. They are grouped right now, so I'm going to connect them, and then I'm going to flatten it, and then I'm going to duplicate her. There she is duplicated. So what flattening does is this way it's going to print out on your printer when you send it to the printer, and it'll print out the offset and the image as one. So there I am looking at it to make it, and they look perfect on there. Now when I tell it to go print something you do not want, it's going to say send to printer. You do not want bleed. You don't want to do the bleed because otherwise sometimes then the black on the image is too thick and you want just the white to be. And there we are, deselecting the bleed. And now we've hopped over to the Cricut machine and I've got it on my board. My board's not the cleanest, I apologize for that, but it still works, so I'm not getting a new one yet. And here is, in case you haven't seen this or done this before, this is the Cricut just reading the code that's in those black lines so it knows where to cut around your images. So we're going to watch this cut in case you haven't seen it before. You will not see me doing I used Copic colors. I will tell you, when you print on a laser jet, I find you really need to let it sit for about 12 hours before using an alcohol marker, or you get too much bleed. There are tons of people out there who do great alcohol marker coloring, so we are, through the magic of video, not going to see through that. So here we are. All right, now we're cut and we're colored. We have Shanna both in this beautiful pink and in this glorious purple. And then if you look, you can see the two images that my backgrounds really, again, are just paper from Whimsy stamps. And there I am pulling them off. You can see they're die cut extremely well. And I like how they turned out overall. So now we are moving on to getting ready to fix our fences. So our fences are embossed 3 different times each fence. You just find some embossing powders that you like, that you think will do well with your coloring, and you will find out how it turns out at the end. It's always kind of a surprise to me. So I used some Glaze by the Distress line, and then I've got 2 embossing powders for each. And just use whatever you have on hand that you think's going to work well. I like to use just these coffee filter papers when I'm embossing. I think that just gathers the embossing powder very well. I'm using this piece of paper just for my background. You do need an embossing ink dauber for this technique. So what you're going to do is you're just going to randomly take your embossing dauber, you'll see that in a minute, and you just literally dab, 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 dab all over the piece of fence that you're working on. I'm just getting my supplies ready over here. There, I'm dabbing. Then you just emboss like you emboss anything. I'm going to cover the whole thing though with the embossing powder because I really don't know exactly where my dauber is, and I'm generally not going to look. I'm putting a little more on there because it looked like I missed a spot, because you know how it gets kind of wet. And yeah, so simple embossing. And now we're just going to we're going to dab, dab, dab the second fence and do the exact same thing. If I'm doing multiples of the same color, I'll usually do the embossing all at one time with the heat gun. I just find it to be a little bit faster if you do it that way. And I'm just going to leave it on the mat and emboss with the heat gun directly on the mat. I apologize, it's off screen for some of this. I didn't realize that until it was a little too late. But there you have it. That's the first layer of embossing on the pink fence. I'm going to be quiet for a while and I'm going to let you just enjoy watching what happens to the pink fence as I do the other 2 colors. And there you have it. We're done with the pink fence. And so here's what it will look like, more or less, once we just glue everything together. And that's all we have for the pink. Now we are going to move on to embossing the purple, and we do the purple in the exact same way that we did the pink. 3 different layers of embossing powders. So I again will leave you for a moment and let you enjoy. And that finishes the purple fence. The purple fence actually turned out very cool. The wine color of the embossing that I used, I'll have all these colors linked down at the bottom. It made it look really, really, really grungy and very rusty. I really like how she turned out. All right, well, that's about all we have for today. So there were the two techniques, how to use the digital image with your Cricut to get a nice border and how to grunge up a fence. Two slightly different techniques I haven't seen too many other places online do. So let's take a look at ShannaTheSheDevil with everything glued back together one final time. Here she is in the glorious purple. Here we are in the pretty pink, and a final farewell to Shanna in her original red. Thanks for joining us today. Goodbye.